Alright, so the periodic table. Although the best way for you to study for this is literally to use the periodic table, use those different periodic table puzzles and crossword puzzles that I gave you that are testing your knowledge. I'm still going to go over this just in case you weren't here to get the notes. Alright, so arranging of the elements. Dmitri Mendeleev was not the first person to try to put together this table of the elements, but he was the first person to get it almost right. He made the cards and he put them together based on their similarities. So essentially he was putting together families and he put them in order of atomic mass. He was so close to being correct that he was able to predict elements that were later discovered. Years later, Henry Moseley arranges them by atomic number, and that's the one that we use today. So the word periodic means a repeated pattern. A periodical would be a magazine that comes out weekly, bi-weekly, monthly. So it says the periodic table is a classification system used to organize the elements. In each element key is the information you need to know about each element. So it tells you the symbol, it tells you how many protons with the atomic number, which also tells you electrons, and the atomic mass will tell you protons plus neutrons. So if you subtract your atomic number from your atomic mass, you can find out how many neutrons. A column like the one we see here, lithium, sodium, potassium, above it would be hydrogen. Okay, columns are also called groups, and there are 18 of them on the periodic table. They are in groups because they have similar properties, so a lot of times they are also called families. They look alike, they act alike. They all have the same number of outermost electrons, valence electrons. In this first family, you can see they all have 1. Okay, so we're looking at the alkali metals. Rows, they go from left to right. They are also called periods. In the rows, the elements are not alike. The only thing that they do have in common is that they have the same number of energy levels. So everything in row 1, which is hydrogen and helium, have only 1 energy level for electrons. Everything in row 2 have 2 energy levels. It goes up to 7, so there are 7 periods or rows. The first element in a row is an extremely active solid, except for hydrogen, and the last one is an inactive gas that does not bond with anything. So if I were to go through and number these, this would be 1, 2, 3, and I would keep going, and I would end up over here at 18. My rows and periods, the first one's 1, 2, it goes down to 7. And these down here have been pulled out. You see the 56, 57, and down here is 58. They really go in here, so these are still rows 6 and 7. They've just been pulled out for convenience of the person reading the table. Alright, your atomic key. The small number is the atomic number. It tells you protons and also electrons because they match. Atomic mass tells you protons plus neutrons. There's the symbol and the element name. You should have color-coded a periodic table showing yourself which elements are metals, which are nonmetals, and then the metalloids. You are allowed to use this table on your test. Okay, properties of metals. They have a luster, a shininess. They're bendable, so we can make them into thin wires, which is called ductile. They're malleable. We can hammer them into thin sheets. They do conduct heat and electricity, which means they let them come through, and they have a high density. So lots of atoms in a small space. They easily react with water and gases in the air, such as rusting, tarnishing. They're corrosive. Nonmetals are the exact opposite. They're dull, they're brittle, which means they break easily, and they do not conduct heat or electricity. Metalloids are considered to be metal-like. They can, some of them, conduct heat and electricity, but not very well. They can be shiny or dull. They can be breakable or malleable. All right, let's go through the families. Group 1, the alkali metals. Each one of those, and you saw that in the Brainiacs video, were violent when it reacted with water. The alkaline earth metals, just know that it's group 2. They're very reactive. In other words, they bond easily, but not as easily as the alkali metals. The transition metals are groups 3 through 12. This is going to have your money metals in there, your gold, silver, and nickel. They're used in paint. They do conduct heat and electricity. The boron family is group 13. It's really all you need to know. The carbon family, you need to know that carbon is the element of life. That silicon also is used for computer chips. This is group 14. The nitrogen family, group 15. What's important here is that nitrogen makes up 78% of our atmosphere. The oxygen family is group 16. 21% of oxygen is in our atmosphere that we breathe. The halogens are group 17. They all end in INE. Chlorine, astatine, iodine, and so on. They're the most reactive of the nonmetals. They usually bond with the alkali metals. They are never found free because of that. Noble gases are group 18. They do not bond ever. They have 8 valence electrons, so they cannot. They are also known as inert gases, which means inactive. They all end in ON except for helium. So argon, radon, xenon, and so on. Rare earth elements are pulled out at the bottom. The first row is the lanthanoid series. The second row is the actinoid series. These elements are radioactive or synthetic, which means made by man. That's a word you need to know. The best known in this section would be uranium. You can skip all of this, and you're done. Remember to practice with your periodic tables, bring them in so that you have them for your test, and good luck.